Hello, and welcome to Trek Canon. Today we're going to be discussing Star Trek Discovery latest episode about the Talosians and Pike. Um, First, let me say that I was always interested to see the continuation of what happened after Menageries Part 1 and 2. Um, and in between episode The Cage. Okay, that was a nice amount of years in between there where where Pike commanded the Enterprise, ran into the Telosians. Okay, General Order 7 was instated. Okay, which says that um, if you go to the Talos system, it's one of the only infractions in the Federation still punishable by death. Okay, so excuse me, I got a little cold, so if I sniffle a little bit and start sounding like um, Trump, just understand that I'm a little sick. All right, working outside and not dressing in layers, people, layers. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So I like the direction that they went with this. Okay. As far as complacency, I want to talk a little bit about complacency because I think that they explain a little bit about General Order 7 and why it was instated. Okay. They never really, to my knowledge in canon, they never really cover why Pike recommended the Talos system to be off limits, punishable by death. Okay. But there are some things that we could kind of piece together based on what we know of the Star Trek universe. Okay. One episode in particular pops into mind, and that is I Mud, okay, from the original series, where Kirk, Spock, a few of the other guys beam down to the planet that's inhabited by androids. Mud has basically taken over, air quotes, taken over the android planet, and uh, and basically wants to leave Kirk and them there. All right, it's the famous episode where Mud's wife, when Mud's wife is in it, and he says, "Yeah, behind every great man, there's a woman pushing him further into space," or something like that. Hilarious. But anyway, um, in that episode, the androids they had a plan to take over the Federation by doing the simplest thing, by tending and catering to um, the people of the Federation. Okay, they were going to take over the Federation by doing everything by basically starting off as their slaves. Okay, or making them think they were their slaves. Okay, and handling and basically taking away all of their uh, making them complacent. All right. Now, the other episode. Okay. By the way, a movie even Kirk said it best. I need my pain. Pain is what makes us who we are. All right. It keeps us, adversity keeps us, nerd moment, side nerd scientific moment. Back in the early 1900s, I forget the name of the scientist who conducted the experiment with the rats, but he built this rat city. Basically, it was a city where all of the needs of the rats would be taken care of. They wouldn't need any food. There was no natural predators or no predators, period, inside the encampment and everything. And for a little while, the rats did very well. Okay, the population increased. It was a rat heaven. But eventually, they found that the rats start the reproductive cycles of the rats start to decrease. Their desires to uh, do anything start to decrease. They start dying off. They start not caring about um, the fellow rats in the cage or anything like that. They actually start getting more disruptive, and it was very, very bad. And the city ended up not. They had to cancel the experiment. But that's the same thing with humans. Okay, so in that particular episode, the androids was going to take over the Federation with basically by adding to the complacency of the humans. Now, um, so General Order 7. Am I skipping around? I think I'm skipping around a lot. Oh yeah. Anyway, the other thing is the holodeck. All right. Barkley teaches us the holodeck is not good. You know what? I'm gonna have to say if I had a holodeck, let me go into dream world for a moment. Okay. If I had a holodeck, if I had a holodeck, you probably wouldn't see me for about a while, a long time. And when you did, I probably would not look the same. I'd be pale and small and loud. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. I had a moment about the holodeck. So anyway, so Star Trek teaches us that moving forward is always the best. Okay, having something to challenge us is always improving. Okay, it will always improve us. Okay, so I can totally understand why General Order 7 was instated because the Telosians can basically lock you into a living holodeck world. Okay, living holodeck environment. That's not going to be beneficial for us. Okay. Well, Tommy, why did Pike go back? Well, Pike went back. Well, Spock took Pike back because that was the only life that Pike, Pike was in a wheelchair, man, in a wheelchair, only being able to say yes or no. I'd have went to hang out with the Telosians and crazy put together Vivian too. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So it was a little disappointing that they didn't cover um, a little bit more in depth about the relationship that had developed between the Telosians and Pike. Okay, um, because the interpretation I got from the cage was that the Telosians really cared for Pike. Okay, they really cared for Pike. They really cared for the humanoids and Vivian. They really cared for those people. They were caring people, but because of their extreme intellect, um, their way of expressing it probably wasn't the best, I should say. Um, but they're not well, they are dangerous. They're not nefarious people. They're not bad guys. We'll put it that way. They're not bad guys. They have an attempt to try to understand. But anyway, um, where was I going? Oh yeah. So I wish they would have covered a little bit more about uh, um, the relationship that Pike had with the Telosians, a little bit more about hey, why Pike decided. Well, we know why Pike decided, but they should have covered why Pike decided to recommend General Order 7. Um, let me see. I did like the back and forth between Spike and Burnham because I mean between Spock and Burnham. All right. Um, Spock Spock kind of his interaction with people kind of reminds me of what Doctor Who needs. People with extreme minds need somebody to bounce ideas off of. Not that Spock to a way lesser degree, but Spock still. I still think Spock is at his best when he's able to bounce um, ideas off somebody to kind of try to show the struggle between his logical and his emotional sides. Okay, so having that uh, with his sister was pretty good. The interactions. Now, um, my son tells me that Spock seemed a little cold, and I was in like, what man? Do you remember the original series? Spock. That's how Spock speaks. Spock wasn't the only person that he didn't really speak like that to was Kirk. And that was probably because Kirk was the commander of the ship, so he was a little bit more reserved in how he spoke. But when he spoke to Bones, or when he talked to Scotty, or when people, especially the episode where he took over, what was it, the Galileo 7, I believe it was, the episode where he was in command of the Galileo on that plane with the big, tall, giant furry dudes. Um, the way he spoke directly, logically, was it seemed kind of cold, but that's Spock. Okay. Also, I love the way that they did his hand to hand combat in that episode because I was thinking to myself, I don't think I've ever actually seen Spock strike somebody. Um, maybe in Bread and Circuses episode. Was that Bread and Circuses? Anyway, maybe in that episode I seen him actually strike somebody, but the way that they had him, precise with his blocks, turns, and ending with the Vulcan pinches, so consistent with Spock. Okay, um, and plus being locked in a room with a Vulcan, Vulcans are super strong. Okay, let's not get it twisted. Vulcans are strong. All right, so um, so that was very consistent. What I thought with canon with Spock. Actually, I like their rendition of Spock a lot. The confusion that's going on within them. Now, the only issue that I took with the episode is the timeline. Okay, the timeline is the only thing that I need to figure out. Okay, because Spock served with Pike for about a little over 11 years. Okay, The Talos incident, I don't know exactly when that was. I'm gonna have to rewatch the episode and get into the specifics because it's kind of bothering me. Or I could run it past Trek Lore, I mean Lord Reloaded, and see if he's made a video or something like. By the way, I recommend Lord Reloaded. He's great at going into the details and the analysis of different things in Star Trek. I really enjoy his. I really enjoy his channel. I took issue with that whole Borg thing, with that whole who went between the Dominion and the Borg. He was way off on that one, but um, I do like the research that he does. It's very insightful, so I recommend his channel. I would say I'll put the link in the bottom, but I have absolutely no idea how to do that. I'm gonna have to get with my son about that so that we can start working on this production value. Because my production value is sucking booty right now. It's sucking booty, sucking booty, sucking booty on the production value. All right, but anyway, um, back to Star Trek, what we were talking about. So, um, I wish that they would have got a little bit more in depth as far as like I said with the relationship and everything like that, explaining the chronology of where they were after what part they were in a menagerie. Because when I first knew that they were going to be bringing the Telosians in it, I thought that they were going to try to break canon by having Pike meet up with the Telosians prior to the Menageries Part One and Two, but they didn't. So that was awesome. So basically, they're saying that everything happened in the menagerie that was supposed to have happened. Okay, somewhere after that, the Enterprise gets um, had issues to where it's got to go back to space dock. Pike temporarily takes over for a captaincy of the Discovery. Okay, and somewhere in there, all right, Spock ends up having issues, sensing the Red Angel. Somewhere in there, Pike ends up running back across the Telosians again. All right. Sometime after this, he goes back to take command of the Enterprise. Okay, where a short time later, he's relieved by Captain Kirk. So, what does that lead me to assume? That leads me to assume that somewhere in Discovery's timeline, currently, there is a Lieutenant Kirk serving somewhere on the USS Farragut or somewhere like that. Okay, maybe trying to chase down that that perfume smelling cloud monster thing. But I'm interested to see if they're going to have a cameo by a young Lieutenant Kirk or something along those lines, or a reference of a Lieutenant Kirk during that incident with the cloud monster and everybody on the Farragut getting jacked up. But um, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But as far as this last episode of fitting into canon, I think they did a great job, and I think they're doing a great job putting it back into canon. I was talking to a friend of mine about how they could bring all of the Star Treks into a more consistent canon by simply doing one thing, and I'll tell you guys what that is. All right. Do you guys remember Starship Relativity? I'll wait. Okay. Starship Relativity was introduced in the series Voyager. Okay. Starship Relativity is a time ship. All right. Ran by time agents. Okay. So, how can they bring Star Trek, all Star Treks, including Discovery, back into canon? All right. Just make a short film, a short series, or something like that, focusing on relativity, its crew, what it's doing to try to bring, what it tries to do to correct canon or to correct time issues within the Star Trek universe. Okay, that would be an awesome series. If actually, that would be an awesome series. They could, man, the things that they could do. They could using Starship Relativity. They could revisit things in the original series. They could revisit things in Deep Space Nine. They could revisit things in Voyager. They could revisit things in Discovery and make it the way it's supposed to be. Enterprise, all types of things. That would be the simplest and most canon accurate way. Instead of trying to write and tweak and do things here and there, the most accurate way, I think, to bring the all series of Star Trek and everything into a more containable dynamic. So, um, yeah, I thought that the episode. So in conclusion, I thought the episode was great. They have some work to do, but the high speeds are doing it. And like I said, I'm happy. And if you guys have any recommendations about anything that you want to hear about fitting into canon or explaining something in canon, please let me know in the comments. As always, if you like, subscribe, and I know I'm gonna tell them to ring the bell. High speed, they gonna ring it. Something about ringing the bell. If the bell is not ringing, I have absolutely no idea how to set it up because, like I said, somebody's supposed to be helping me with the production value. I'm sucking with the production. This production sucks.